Hi everybody. I hope everyone's safe and healthy at home and you've been enjoying a little bit of a slowdown here. We have been trying to keep ourselves busy with what we can do from home and virtually, and one of those things is give you guys a tour of the new rowing center. So first thing I'll do is just lay out the groundwork outside, because you guys have been so patient with all of the construction that's been going on here at DBMS over the last year. Hi! First things first, if you look around here, all of this dirt area is going to be paved as soon as the companies reopen. And this is going to serve as an additional, we're going to gain about 10 spaces at least, and from what we had originally. And in addition, this is going to be a sectioned off paved area for all of the rowers. As they come off the water, they're going to have 2 hose spigots, an entire area to wash down their boats after they use them, and to make sure they're safe the oncoming traffic. So that's one of the tricky things here, is we have all of these parents coming in trying to get their kids after morning practice or after afternoon practice, and these boats are anywhere from 20 to 50 feet trying to maneuver them. And when you do that with a packed parking lot, you're kind of just asking for trouble. So this was one of the reasons why we did this sectioned off area, was to help keep the kids safe, as well as make transition and cleaning as easy as possible for our adult programs. So we'll come on over here, and we have 2 main entryways into the boathouse that are up front, and then 1 emergency exit back here. And as all of our buildings are, they are handicap accessible. So let's go inside. And special shout out to my husband, who is our super awesome cameraman today, Rob Spalsino. Thank you, Rob, for being here. Rob and I live right next door, so we are trying to obey quarantine and closures and all that. So no rules were broken in the making of this video. So taking a glance off this way, this is all going to be paved. This is the main exit and entryway into the boathouse. And it's a straight shot, almost just about a straight shot to the water. Our cars will no longer be parked there, and this gangway will no longer be there, so it'll be a really quick and easy, seamless way in and out of the boat bay, as opposed to just taking the stuff off the racks right now, all of the boats being out in the elements. One of these shells can be anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000, and the shell is the boat. That's what I mean when I'm talking about a shell. So they're very expensive. They're made of a lot of carbon fiber, which those of you that have anything made of carbon fiber, maybe you have a road bike, maybe you have a hydrofoil, or some sort of really fancy board. Carbon fiber is very expensive, it's very durable, but it's also really important to keep it away from sunlight. So that's one reason why this is so major, to have over $500,000 worth of equipment no longer being stored about campus and about Duxbury. So shout out to Duxplex. Thank you for letting us store so much stuff on your property off season. We really appreciate it. So we'll go in the main entrance right here. Once this is get going, our folks that are taking class will just have a key fob, and they can scan right in. The door will be locked most of the time, just because this isn't like our normal building over there, our admin building, I should say. We won't have the beautiful Kenzie Thompson at a front desk. We just have the entry into the boathouse. So we'll take you on in here. This is our boat bay that I was referring to. And so in here, just let Rob know if it's too echoey or if you're having a hard time hearing me. This is going to house at least 40 shells, and those shells are a variety of sizes. We'll have a rack up front here, which will have some of our shorter boats for 2 people or 1 person. They're called singles and doubles. And they're recreational and racing doubles, as well as recreational singles. And those will all be stored towards the front of the house here. Everything that you see that's a big silver rack is on wheels, as well as all of the oar racks. Everything can be rearranged. So if you're like me and at the change of every season you want to change up the orientation of everything just to keep it fresh, you could do that in here. Our coaches are extremely organized and won't do that. I'm sure they'll come up with a system that works really, really well. But given that we've never had this before, it's so great that we can rearrange. We're going to take our best guess as what makes sense as far as what goes where. And then once all of our wonderful participants are in here taking classes, it'll give us a sense of, is this the best arrangement? Should we be shaking things up a bit? Should we have the more experienced people towards one end of the boathouse and the less experienced people towards the front of the house so they don't have to maneuver past all of this other equipment? So all of these things go into the planning and mapping of where these things need to go, which is why everything is on wheels. And they're very large. They're also very light, so I can move one by myself. They're very easy to move. And if we come back here, you can kind of take a look at how the boats sit on these racks. This is 114 length room, and I believe 30 feet wide. Correct me if I'm wrong. So these are some of our recreational and racing shells. These are called quads, and they're for 4 people. Our adults use them primarily. These happen to be all adult boats right here, and they're probably each of these boats is used at least once, if not twice a day when we're in peak season. So again, because of the heavy use, the last thing we want is these things baking away and delaminating over 10 years in the sun, because they are so valuable to us and our participants. They get heavily used every day, and it's great we're going to be able to keep them all inside. And towards the back here, we have our little coach's corner. Anywhere can be a workshop in a boat bay or in a boathouse, because you have this big amount of space to work in. You just really need a safe place to keep the tools. So that's what we'll have back here. And this is a really adorable, amazing addition for our high school teams, which will be where our coaches put lineups, as well as the coxswain equipment. The coxswains, if you're not familiar, are the folks, they're kind of the brain of the boat. They sit at the stern or the bow of the shell with a little microphone attached to their face, and this little mechanism that they'll keep here and charge here is like theirs to hold for the season, and it's what they bring with them out there every day on the water, every day to racing, and it helps them communicate to all of the athletes within the boat what orders she or he would like them to execute physically so that the boat moves as seamlessly as possible over the top of the water. Shout out to Tupper Dow, who is our fine craftsman for these, as well as our rollers over there, which hold these boats. Again, another thing on wheels. Everything is on wheels here. It's fabulous. And let's take it on down to go to the second floor, which is absolutely spectacular. I can't hype it up enough. Have there been any questions so far? Probably not. This is pretty straightforward, but if you have any, I'd be more than happy to answer them. One thing that's interesting is the door is on an angle here to exit the building. And the reason it's on an angle is because this entire structure is in the exact same footprint as the tin shed that was torn down 2 Novembers ago. Right, there's 2 Novembers ago.
I believe so.
Yeah. The reason for that is there are some, long-standing easements, and we had to go right in the exact same footprint. So our architect was, and our team here at DBMS was absolutely wonderfully creative in coming up with a solution for that. And so that's why the building is the way it is. Some people have asked me that on tours, so I figured I'd just mention that. Because you never know, why is the building built where and how wide and how tall. It's just a little bit taller than the last structure that was here, but really not by much. Considering everything that's happening inside of it, it's pretty amazing what they were able to do. Obviously we have a hydration station, super fabulous washroom on floor number 1, and So we come through here. Oh, let's show them how the door opens. That's kind of fun. Not that it's that interesting. From 50 to 100 kids and adults showing up to DBMS, in peak season of course, competitive and adult, and everyone will kind of funnel on in here. That boat bay will open, this boat bay full of shells will immediately be embarked on by a bunch of recreational and competitive rowers. And so these oar racks will very quickly become bare as everybody comes and grabs a pair and walks them on down to the dock. And then one by one, you'll see shells filing out with 4 or 8 folks carrying them on their shoulders. So that'll be really exciting. When we are back up and running and when programs are raring to go, that would be a really interesting thing if you want to pop on down here and just kind of watch the controlled chaos one morning. 6 a.m. It's really vibrant down here on the waterfront. I highly encourage anybody to come and just kind of watch the parade of beautifully colored shells. So why don't we pop upstairs? Do you want to get a head start and I'll shut this? Go up and I'll kind of explain as I follow. So one of the other really exciting things about having a home for just rowing in here is we have all of this incredible wall space. And as you can imagine, the team that has been going since 2001, there are so many alumni and memories, adult and kid alike, of course, but the amount of high school rowers that have come through this program and the amount of adult rowers that have stayed with this program, there has been nowhere really to kind of mount accomplishments or post team pictures from season to season. So this wall space is really exciting. Up here we have the free fitness space, the training room as we're calling it. And this is predominantly going to remain open, meaning we're not going to be putting treadmills and dozens of weight racks. We're going to be leaving it as a space where people can do core work flexibly, and lightweight work, body work. I know we're going to be getting some smaller weights and bands so that the team, any team, adult or kiddo, can be doing kind of the prehab and rehab pre and post workout without having to maneuver all of the ergometers. When we go into the next room, you'll kind of get a sense of what I'm talking about. But this room is so beautifully lit. They did an incredible job from everything from lighting fixtures to the ceiling. All of the wood up there you see is going to remain exposed. It's so beautiful. I was hoping it'd be a little sunnier today, but it's okay. The lighting in here it's very calming. You don't feel like you're in a space where you're exercising. You feel like you're kind of in like a really chic chalet or something. I don't know. You guys can tell me. You'll know better. But just really, they did a really wonderful job in this room, from the little details from the exposed wood down in the bottom there to the windowsills. Really just pretty nice. Oh, thank you, Rob, for zooming in on those. Thank you. Oh, you are adorable. Again, if you're just tuning in, the cameraman is my husband, who I have been with throughout all the craziness that's going on. I didn't invite anybody outside to do this, so thank you, husband Rob, for doing the filming. And we live right next door, so we didn't travel far to do this little tour today. The next room is the ergometer room, or the indoor rowing room. A lot of people call them a few different things. We call them ergs here. A lot of people that are in rowing call them ergs, short for ergometer. If you do CrossFit, they're probably called rowers. Where you work out, the machine's all the same. So this room is predominantly for the cardio equipment that we use here to train our adult and kid rowers. And we will be able to fit 40 ergometers. If Ted, if you're watching, or Ollie, or Betsy, correct me if I'm off by a few, maybe it's 36, or maybe it's 44. But this room is about twice the size of our current room that we do all of the training for all of our adult kids and high school team. It's just so wonderful to have this big open space. It's so flexible as far as how it can be arranged. Right now we only have 4 of these ergs. It's because we have a handful of adult rowers, most of them high school rowers, who took home the ergometers because they may still have a spring season, maybe not, but either way, they wanted to make sure that they were able to do some workouts at home safely, so away they went. We are going to be able to fit, on top of these ergs, we're going to be able to fit 10 of the stationary bikes. Those are going to be huge. We haven't really had an environment where we can accommodate all of the ergs and stationary bikes. They are a huge, huge training tool for rowers, largely because you can still really tax the lower body, get a great cardio workout, and give that upper body a much needed rest from all of the repetitive work that happens with rowing. It's not that the upper body necessarily gets fatigued when you row, it's just that's sort of the weaker end of the body that a lot of common overuse and injuries happen in adults and kids. So it's going to be great that we can offer people that as a part of the high volume training solution, because the last thing we want is anybody feeling like they don't have options to keep themselves healthy while they're training and learning how to row. So one of the other great things about this room is the view. It's a new view for us. None of the views on this campus are bad, but this is just an absolutely beautiful glance to the north of Duxbury. And we're going to be probably playing with the arrangement. I don't know if they're going to be bikes facing out this way and ergs facing to the south. I'm not sure. I know Betsy and Tupper and Ollie and all the high school coaches that can be improved upon, or as like a recap session from a former practice that was held on the water. Especially for our folks that row here early in the morning and then head off to work, or our kids that are rowing here early in the morning or in the afternoon, and then they have shenanigans load of activities and homework that they have to get to. It's really hard to get that extra time to kind of... Oh no. That work? Okay. Sorry, brief interlude there. And then as we come into the final room here, still going.
Yeah.
Holler if we're getting connectivity issues. Still going?
Yeah, it looks like it's still working.
Okay. So this is the room that took the most work. So these are the rowing tanks that we've been referring to. The reason why we're calling them tanks, or why they are called tanks, is because there are obviously 1-2 tanks. And what happens is I will set up a couple of oars in here and or sculls and whatever you're used to calling them. And I'll be just kind of briefly demonstrate really quickly how this would be leveraged. It's not going to be super on point because obviously it's not 100% finished, the water's not in there, and everything hasn't been perfectly adjusted, but we've done enough just to give you a quick idea of what it's going to be leveraged for. But the biggest benefit of this massive, hugely important resource for DBMS is, as many of you know, our bay can be really feisty. And on those days, we have had to rely predominantly on indoor workouts on the ergometer to get our adults and kids, you know, practice of how to, like the technical side of how to row. It's really difficult though to capture and to communicate as a coach the blade work, how the body's supposed to move with this really long oar that they're supposed to manipulate with their hands, and then water being brought into the equation. It can be kind of tricky to ask someone to visualize that and then correct them for all these things in the erg. So this is taking all of that away. It's actually just rowing live, but indoors. There are, of course, it's really close to the sensation of rowing on the water. If you're really familiar with rowing and have been doing it for a long time, with a load of experience, you might be able to kind of course, tune into some differences, but it's pretty much as close as it gets to rowing in a boat with your teammates. And so what you're seeing here are 8 seats and 8-foot plates. This is rigged up so that 8 adults or kids can row together, or if we want to mix them up, that's another fun opportunity, is we can kind of teach age groups all at the same time. I had a couple of couples in here a few weeks back before everything got a little more distance, and they were joking that it would be a really great date night for the 4 of them to come in here and learn how to row. I thought that was hilarious. But what you're seeing here is this second floor indoor rowing shell, but it's got this really wonderful environment. And apart from me talking, it's very quiet in here, and even when they start rowing with the water and the oars, it's still more quiet than when you're on the water hollering at a team with your megaphone, trying to get them to make technical changes. This is nice because when you're able to work with someone one-on-one, their oar is going to be right here. And so if one of the coaches wants to ask an athlete to, make a change, they can actually grab their oar and ask them for the technique that they need to be out executing with their body. And it's like just not a level or a depth that you're able to really get out on the water. It's hard to work with one athlete at a time like that. So the opportunity for kids and adults to kind of accelerate their understanding of the stroke and what coaches are asking of them, I think is the biggest benefit, because we are, after all, a school, and the most important thing is that we're teaching anybody who comes through our doors that wants to learn how to row as quickly and as effectively as we possibly can. So that's the main reason why this this rowing tank is so incredibly beneficial to this program. And then another added benefit, of course, is anybody who's, we look forward to someday getting folks that have physical or cognitive challenges in an environment like this for their first time learning how to row, because it's just a lot less stimulus. There aren't power boats around, there aren't the noises of Duxbury Bay and the hum of the waterfront that can be kind of distracting. So this will give us a nice calm environment to approach anybody who's new to this sport at a nice easy pace without too much distraction. So if you want to go on the side there, I can kind of, or maybe in the front. So on any given day that we have tank classes, students would get their oars or their blades, and they'd come down here, and just so I'm nice and close to the camera, I'll give as you can see, they're quite long, so I'm going to put my, there we go. And you just rig it up like this. Come on now. Great. Get the starboard side here. Good. Close enough. And then the water will be on either side, and I would make sure my seat is underneath me before I sit down. yourself, or you can row in it with 3 people or 8. It doesn't matter. The whole thing still works. It still operates. It still functions, no matter how many athletes you have. But now I've got my oars. I've got my coach telling me to sit ready and row. And so what I do is I come up, I drop my blades in the water, and then I'd be able to take a stroke and release the blade from the water, just as if I were out there rowing in a boat. And this ability to A, work with oars, and B, work with things such as blade depth, making sure I'm staying connected to the water, all of these things that people are learning how to do, being able to work with oars in the water is now going to be possible with these rowing tanks. So I'll take one more here. And another little thing that we like to work on here is just the little mechanics of the oar. That's all going to be made possible as well, now that everything's set up as close to being in a boat as possible. So I'll leave those there, just for today, because we know no one's coming in here right now. And so the final piece of this room is this larger-than-life screen. And in addition to video review, which someone can take live footage of someone from, this angle, so that they can kind of see, okay, I think I'm rowing this way, but now I can see I'm actually rowing this way. Or maybe they look pretty darn good. They'll be able to see that too. But the kind of final and really advanced and wonderful feature of these are the force plates that are going to be in the first 4 foot plates of the first 4 seats. And what that will help, right now there's no real way to get like digital feedback as a rower in the boat. There are a couple of devices, but who's got it? Oh, John, hi! Does the rigging have to change between sweeps and sculls? Great question, John. So glad you asked that because I did not mention it. So the manufacturers, Jim and Colleen Dreyer, they are going, Durham Boat Club, thank you so much, these look fabulous. They are still to come to make sure everything's set perfectly. They are very precise, they love what they do, and they have a understandably very advanced understanding of how this all needs to be put together because they are the manufacturers of this particular one. But what they're going to do for us is, so John's asking is between sweeps and sculling. What I was just doing here with 2 oars is sculling. And what our high schoolers predominantly do is sweep. And that is where you have 1 oar you're holding on with 2 hands and you're dedicated to either the port or the starboard side. And when we go through a normal day here at DBMS in season, we have a plethora of folks sweeping and sculling. So what John's asking is because those oars are typically different lengths and the setting of these oar locks is wildly different for those boats, are we going to have to be making all those adjustments in between our participants' classes? And the answer is no. Jim and Colleen are going to rig this and the oars so that it's a happy medium. So it will be able to closely accommodate those that sweep and very closely accommodate those that scull. So all that's going to change are what style oar are you carrying to your seat. And it's, otherwise totally equipped to accommodate the high schoolers sweep style, which is what they compete with state championships and what they'll go on to compete collegiately using. And then sculling, which is predominantly what our adults use, as well as our Learn to Row children's programs. Okay, does the rigging have to change? Wait, mention the elevator. Thank you, Gail. Yes, I will mention the elevator. We're going to see that on the way out, and I'll mention that. One of the best parts about having an elevator, again, is not only for us to be able to move all this equipment over here seamlessly and not damage all the beautiful white walls on the way up, but it will be wonderful for anybody who, just needs that accessibility. Like the Smith building, this is a fully accessible building to anybody who would need it. We might be looking into maybe a modification up here, maybe a Hoya lift down the line for anybody that physically might have difficulty maneuvering between to get into any of these seats. But yes, we have an elevator. We didn't take it up today. I think we do have a temporary occupancy permit, but I don't know if we're allowed to use the elevator. Are we allowed to use the elevator? We won't use it today, but maybe we're allowed to use the elevator. So put that larger than life screen up. And like I said, those force plates that are in all of the in the foot plates for those first 4 seats, what that's going to enable rowers to see, if you come over here, on the ergometer, you have this nice little computer that tells you exactly where you're at as far as data, just like any stationary bike might. And that force plate rig in there is going to give our rowers to see up on the screen actual data about what kind of power they're generating. Are they equally generating it with their right leg and their left leg? Are they pushing at the right time, or are they kind of efforting towards the end of the stroke more than they should? Just an enormous amount of data for those that want to geek out over it, like myself. That is now a possibility, and we were nowhere near that before we had this facility, let alone the tank room. So that's a really, really exciting addition. And you want to hit those lights in there? Oh yeah, put that up. Rob's looking at it, and he can kind of let me know if there's anything I failed to cover, or if there's anything that maybe you thought of that I haven't. This building right now, it's just a handful of things here and there are left to do. As you can see, just like little phone jacks being finalized and final sweep of the floor. We do have our temporary occupancy permit, like I said, but we aren't going to be fully operational in here until further notice, obviously, given everything that's going on. But if you guys have any questions at all about maybe when things that aren't having to do with kind of when we're going to get started, I feel very comfortable answering that. As Gail was saying, this is our elevator here, so this is what opens up into the main area of our training room. And then, of course, 2 washrooms up here with a very creative tape job. Someone was trying to just make sure no one used the restroom before the plumbing was turned on, I guess, or the building was open. Last night was going to be our donor appreciation party, so we were all remiss. We missed everybody terribly. But it's obviously safer not to hold it right now, of course. We were very happy with how wonderfully everybody responded to us postponing that. But this building was made possible by so many generous people, and I'm so thrilled with everybody that was excited to be a part of the project. If anybody still wants to be a part of the project down the road, that is, of course, entirely still possible. We've between this and the Marine Science Center, we're at 3.9 million raised, goal of 5 million, and working towards that over the next year or so. But it's incredible what we've been able to do with the support so far. I'm very proud to have been a product of this program 1 million years ago, and now be back showing what strides it's made since. Oh, you can just tell me. Are there changing rooms? Good question, Gail. So I remember being a fly on the wall for this meeting, and short answers, there are no changing rooms in here because we have a locker room in the Smith building. And the reason why there are no changing rooms year were because of what was going to, anything that you've seen right now, something would have had to be sacrificed square footage wise. As far as the first floor being, kind of an area being quartered off for that, it didn't make sense for the flow of boat traffic and the degree of boat storage we were looking for. The architect advised against that. And then upstairs here, it was, in order to accommodate women's and men's room changing facility, it probably would have taken up a space as large as this. And Gail is one of our adult rowers here. She's been with us for a while. So it's one of those, you can kind of appreciate the value of having a space to train in when the weather is horrible for everybody, as opposed to right now what happens if there's foul weather. A group will inevitably decide, oh, we'll just, we'll go on a walk, or we'll go to our gyms instead of having class. And now, instead, we're going to be able to say, no, come on in, class is still happening, you're gonna get your money, more than your money's worth, and we're simply an on-land day today. So we'll be doing anything from plyometrics, anything to train your effective strength and flexibility for the rowing stroke in this room, train your cardio and your fitness and endurance in the erg room, and train your on-the-water technique in the rowing tank room. Are there any more questions that you've seen streaming out? It's, again, very straightforward, very well thought out by everybody who is in charge of constructing this facility. So not surprised there aren't very many questions. Did anyone come in late and didn't get to see the first floor or any of the rooms up here? Kind of wait for a response there. And you seem like 20 or so watching, so I just want to make sure.
What are the plans for the older?
What? Beautiful, okay. What are the plans for the older room? Good question. Hi, Dawn. The older room right now is sort of an unclaimed space. They're putting a lot of thought into it. I know it will be a classroom, and on the weekends when we aren't holding programs, it will be a catering prep room, which is definitely needed. We want to make sure those guys are inside right now. They're using downstairs in the boat shed area, or outside, and so that will, like all the rooms on campus, it will wear a couple of hats to begin with, but it will initially transform into classroom space, which, as anybody knows who's been through a program here, or whose kids have been through programs here, especially when the weather is bad, it is great to just have all of that indoor square footage to make sure the kids are safe and from the weather and the elements, and they can still learn comfortably. Anything else? No? Okay, great. Well, again, if you please comment. This will just be a post that lives within this event. I'll do a secondary video where it's a little more direct, less wandering, so that if anybody has a friend or family member that might have been interested in knowing what's on the inside of this enormous structure that went up over the past year, you can share it with them. And comment on the video if there's anything I didn't address, or if there are questions you have after the fact. I'd be more than happy to answer them. This is my favorite thing to do, is walk through and talk about this facility. So more than happy to take the time. Finally, if you have any questions about starting rowing here, whether it's for kids or adults, we definitely are still booking classes with the understanding and the promise to you that should anything get canceled for the summertime due to COVID-19, it's just a 100% refund, no questions asked. So everything is still open for bookings for Learn to Row through Experienced for the summer. And if anything gets canceled, we absolutely will refund immediately, no questions asked. So that applies to all of our spring and summer programs that are canceled due to COVID-19. Anything that gets canceled will be refunded. And but in the meantime, if you want to sign up, you absolutely may. Everything's still open. Or if you have questions about it, our new director of rowing, Betsy Davenport, is a great person to ask if you have questions about adult rowing specifically. Suzanne Walker, who is the adult rowing coordinator that recently started. She's a longtime member of the DBMS community and coaching staff, but has recently stepped into this role. So if you're an adult, you're not sure where to begin, I know Suzanne's on Facebook, and all of our emails here are first names at dbms.org. I'll include the senior staff page on this post just so you can click on it and see everybody's contact information should you have any further questions. But yeah, no questions have popped up in between my little like sign-off spiel. And now I'm gonna say goodbye. I wish you guys all a very happy Sunday and another really safe and healthy week. I know these are crazy times. We are here for you in every way that we can be at DBMS. We hope that you'll safely come and maybe take a walk by yourself or with a family member and take in the waterfront. But it's again, we will be here for you when everything is ready to be open again. We look forward to seeing everybody when all of this is behind us. And please reach out in between now and then for any questions you might have about our programs or about this wonderful facility. And thank you so much for joining, guys. Bye.